Go ahead, Sarah, you can start.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are very, very excited to have you all here for our side event session as girls and young women. So I will formally start the event. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, fellow girls and young women, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the Human Rights Council 50 Girl and Young Women Side event. We appreciate your efforts in finding time to join us. I'm very glad to acknowledge Ms. Dorothy Estrada Tank, the Vice Chair of the UN Women Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls, and other high-level participants and delegates here with us today. I am super excited to have you all here and excited about the amazing discussion that we are going to be having today. I am Solea and I'm from Uganda. I'm a youth advocate who is very passionate about issues concerning girls. Concerning girls and young women. I'm part of the She Leads National Girls Desk. And under the Constitution of Uganda, I'm a youth chairperson. I sit on the Youth Advisory Board for the Embassy of Netherlands in Uganda, and apparently I'm an award-winning youth entrepreneur. I'm a researcher, I'm an evaluator, and I've been part of different youth participatory research projects at global level. I'm also a gender analyst, and I've been championing for sexual reproductive health rights issues since the age of 14 years old, working with local and international organizations. So what is the She Leads? She Leads is an event being organized by the She Leads consortium, consisting of Plan International, Defense for Children International, Terre, hommes, FEMNET, and it's being funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, who is also one of our co-sponsors of this event. The She Leads project is a 5-year joint program working in 9 countries across Africa and the Middle East to support girls and young women to have an influence on decision-making at the local, national, and international level. Some of you may be wondering, who are we? So we are the girls and young women who have organized this event, and we are part of the girls advocacy group of this 50th session of the Human Rights Council. We have been meeting together over the last few months, learning about the human rights and the UN, and doing advocacy together to make sure that girls' voices and their meaningful participation is high on the agenda. So why are we doing this event? We are doing this event because all over the world, when it comes to decision-making, girls and young women face multiple layers of discrimination for being female, for being young, and other multiple identities that define them, such as race, class, sexual orientation, gender identity. We are doing this event because we want our voices to be heard through sharing our unique experiences in the face of those challenges. We want to be recognized, we want to be respected, and we want to be celebrated because we best know our needs and how best we can address them. On our panel today, we are going to be having 4 super talented, strong, passionate advocates to be answering a few questions. And with us today, our first panel will be Aflin. Alflin is a girl advocate from the rural settlements in Kenya. She is a teacher by profession and an African feminist. She focuses on that surround positive, transformative gender norms in the society and menstrual health. She is a strong believer that girls have their voices. Yeah, they know what they want and they decide and what they want when it comes to decision making. And she believes that a mic should be passed on to listen to them and to listen to their authentic views. I have our second panelist for today will be amazing Esther. Esther is a vibrant young activist. She's also a feminist. She's a writer and a student. For years, she has been serving as a strong voice for women and girls in our community. Over the years, she has volunteered for organizations championing issues of women and girls. She believes that girls everywhere should have access to space where their voices can be uplifted to influence decision makers. And our third panelist for today will be Jude. Jude is an amazing student of German and English for business and communications. She's 20 years old and she's from Jordan. She is a host of the Shams community, a global community of young people that aim to facilitate social change by creating space that bring people together and encourage learning, healing, and sustainability. Jude is also a young leader of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, a group working to increase the political participation and involvement of youth, promoting social justice and gender equality. Among the young women today on our panel, lastly, we will have Nancy. Nancy is a young grassroots feminist and an sexual reproductive health rights advocate and a CSC facilitator. She has expertise in leadership development, policy engagement, and young women's empowerment. As an active member of the feminist women's rights movement, she is committed to analyzing the private and personal space and developing strategies that lead to the emancipation of women and girls. And lastly, on our panel, our guest speaker will be Mrs. Dorothy Estrada Tank. She is the vice chair of the UN Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls. She is originally from Mexico. She is currently a professor of law and international relations at the University of Murcia in Spain. She is also the director of its legal clinic. Her academic and professional activities have focused on international human rights law, women's rights, gender equality, and violence against women, human rights of migrants and refugees, persons with disability, indigenous people, and economic, social, and cultural rights. She has had a long and diverse career in government, at the UN, and amazingly in the NGO. So when it comes to housekeeping, we would like you to know that, I would remind you that one of the things that you must know is that this is a safe space. Here, there is no judgment, there is no repercussion, only and only unconditional love. Please make sure you are respectful of all others present in this event. You can also use the question and answer function in the Zoom call to type any questions you have during the event, and the panelists will be able to respond to them later. after their presentations. The chat is not activated, but please feel free to use the reactions on the bottom of your Zoom screen. Just like you're happy, you agree, such emotions. And now we will dive right into our discussion for today. I am super excited to be having Alflin as our first speaker. Thank you so much, Alflin, for joining us today. And please tell us, why did you choose to become an advocate? What has been your experience?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Alflin.
Okay, Afli Nyoko is from Kenya, from rural settlement in Kenya, and I'm also the Girls and Young Women representative under the She Leads project in Kenya. So that is a very touching question to me, like why and how I became an advocate. So, as an adolescent girl who lived in the rural parts of Kenya, like the deep rural parts of Kenya, yes, now my life revolved around ingrained social norms. When you live in the rural parts, there are these people who make the laws and they ensure that the laws are followed. So, in this social settlement, like it is the men who made for us the laws as women and also girls, and we couldn't question them. So in a way, patriarchy took the order of the day and it had nothing to do with us. So you find that the adolescent girls and young women in my community, they're not aware of themselves, like they don't know what they want. And so they are unable to make informed choices when it comes to whatever happened in their lives. So, and then you find that when these girls and young women are able to make the informed choices regarding their lives, they encounter a lot of challenges. For example, right now in my community, we have rampant teenage pregnancies, early marriages, and then we also have premature motherhood. Like their bodies are not yet ready to have these children. And again, the same girls and young women, they have the sexually transmitted illnesses, which you find that at some point they tend to believe that all of these are the results of indulging in sex. And also, again and again, we find that the challenges brings more and more challenges. Like we have also other illnesses that these young girls and young women go through. So maybe to give you little statistics from like my community where I'm working, like where I'm the focal person, you find that as many as 33% of the adolescent girls are mothers, while 13% of the total number of these 33% are HIV infected. And I would also like to make you understand that we live along the lake shores of Lake Victoria. So the infections are among these same young adolescent girls and young women in my community. So most of these girls' dreams are cut short because at the point they become pregnant, they can't think beyond marriage. Like in my community, right now, when you're pregnant, what these societal actors think of you or your parent think is that your dreams, you have nowhere else to go. Like you just have to get married. So that is what is happening. And then again, you find that it is not that the girls and young women wish to go into marriage just yet, but it is the society that dictates so. So you find that some of the girls also, again, they do not have the bargaining power. This is because they're not exposed so much. You find that they get easily lured. Like the girls in the community, when a young man or a young boy approaches a lady, like he or she won't have that power to say no or yes. So like that informed decision is not there. So as a young girl in my community, I tend to believe that most of these girls, they are shy in their minds because I've lived around them for most of my lifetime. So my deep understanding and experience, both the bad and the good, I'm not saying that everything in my community is bad. Some of the experiences are good, while others are bad. So the deep understanding of these experiences about being a young girl, and also a young woman in this hostile environment, has uniquely endeared me. You know, it has shaped me to begin working with these young girls who yearn to be listened to, and also the same girls, they want their voices to be heard, and they just don't want you to just listen to them. They also want you to listen to their challenges and also find a way of solving them. So the need for these girls to be exposed, and also their need to be empowered and also to be elevated, I think I felt it was like a call to me to start advocating for their rights and also for the good of them, and also in a way to elevate them. So in a way, I felt that I could champion for these girls and advocate for their rights and issues. And yeah, here I am today as a girl advocate. So and again, maybe to continue as on my experiences as a girl advocate, more so who is coming from a rural settlement in Kenya, like the deep rural settlements, the deep rural areas. It has not been easy. Like my experience as a girl advocate has been overwhelming. And at some points, I felt that I'm intimidated, like in a way, you don't want to continue doing this. At one point, I'd feel that, why am I even doing this? But from me choosing to champion or to voice the needs of girls in my community, I felt like I should take it up. I shouldn't stop there, even though it overwhelms at some point. So all in all, it has been a learning experience. This learning experience is passion driven, and it has also become easy because you find that some of the non-governmental organizations, that is, for me, I talk about Polycom giving me the most support as a young girl from the rural settlement. In a way, it identified that I have this potential and they can help me grow and champion the needs of the girls and young women in my community. So this experience has been anchored on this support. In a way, Polycom Development Project, they give me the support and mentorship for capacity buildings and so forth. So my experience has also been, I've met a lot of the stakeholders when it comes to decision making, and also I've known the right channels to follow when it comes to a policymaker and where to go to. So, and again, I'm so grateful to Shield's project, which is coming in as a project that tells the world that girls can lead and also girls can speak for themselves. So it is a matter of us creating for these girls an enabling environment for them to meaningfully participate. I believe girls can speak for themselves, so we need to be intentional in tapping into their spaces, including those in rural areas. Thank you so much, Soraya.
Thank you so much, Nance. Thank you so much, Alflin. That was amazing. It is actually not easy to share personal experiences, and I can personally relate to that. You find that we come in communities where young people make decisions, but these decisions are not informed. They decide to get pregnant because their mothers also got pregnant. That is what they know. They don't know anything else. But if or if their capacities are built, like Alfred mentioned, it could be different. They could be able to make informed decisions because they have the information to base on to make those kind of decisions. But there is no way a young girl or a young woman could make a decision out of ignorance. Thank you so much, Alvin, for raising that. And we will go straight to our second panelist for today. And our second panelist for today will be Esther. Esther, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for finding time to be here. So our first question will be, what have been the challenges that you have faced in your advocacy journey?
Okay, thank you very much, Soria. First of all, I just want to begin. Thank you very much for the question. It's actually a very good and important one, as advocate or activists coming together to discuss about girls or women. Actually, being a girl, just being a girl in the world itself is a challenge, seriously. And now fighting or working towards these challenges brings more challenges. So imagine, as a girl, working to tackle challenges that are affecting other girls. So this brings more challenges. But then I'm so happy because these challenges, they have just strengthened my work, and they have strengthened who I am and what I know. Because if everything is just smooth, then I believe, I don't think there will be a change. But then when most of these challenges, when they come, we are able, as activists, we are able to tackle them, we are able to handle them, then they can serve as a lesson for others, for other challenges that come. So basically, working for women and girls in my country comes with a series of challenges. Series, when I say series, it means series of challenges. That is many challenges, but then we are going to make it short because of time. So first of all, one of the most important thing I think is a challenge that is affecting me personally as a girl child activist, and I believe is also affecting other girl child activists out there, is the absence of a well-structured policy guiding the activities of global young women activists. You know, as activists, we have series of problems, we have series of challenges, but then there is no well-structured policy that is guiding our activities. I don't know if there are these laws, but then they are not promoted for people, especially those in the suburb, to know. So most times we just work blindly. We get into troubles, you know, things happen, you know, even our lives are threatening, because there are possibly no laws, I mean, well-structured laws, policies that guide our activities, that says, for instance, in a particular country, where are the laws that safeguard us as girl child activists? Where are the things that says, okay, if they are going to protest for this kind of thing, this is what should happen, this is what we should do, this is what we should not do to them? Now, one of the reasons we have most times this police brutality against activists as we come out to peacefully protest most times is because there are no structural laws or policies that is guiding our activities. Where are they? I think that is one of the biggest challenge, because most times when you go out there, you are afraid. You are afraid for your life, for your family, for your friends, others that are standing with you. You are going to be afraid because anything can happen. Because there is no law that says if they come out to protest for this and this, nothing should be done to them. You should just leave them to do what they are doing peacefully. But then you go out there, and then police or other people in terms of culture or religion, they just do any kind of things with you, because the government have not produced a policy that can safeguard you, your life, your work, and the activities that you are involved in. So for me, Soraya, that is one of the major challenges. Another one is the lack of protection and support from the government. you know, this works with the absence of well-structured policies. Working, especially in my country, I am saying this, we lack protection and support from the government. Most times they will go out there, they will sit in these big offices and big places, they will talk, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. But then when it comes to the country, the grassroots, they are not doing anything to protect and support us. Because if you are going to protect us, then it means you are going to produce laws that are going to be guiding our activities. But then there is no protection from the government. We thank God for some agencies. Yeah, they are working, they are trying, but then if the government is not involved, what can they do? The government have the power to do, I don't know if that is what happened in every country, but in some of our countries, the government have absolute power. They say the people have the power, but that is that is ridiculous, because that is not what happened. They say the people have the power, but when they go to office, they have the power, the ultimate power, the supreme power. They say things that are supposed to happen. They detect things that are supposed to happen, and if they are not involved in protecting girl child champions or activists, I believe that is one of the challenges that we are facing. And support, of course, there is lack of support from the government. Like I said, other agencies are trying, organizations are trying, but imagine if they are doing these things without the government, who pass the laws, who detect what happened, who detect how funds are distributed. There are many support that we lack. Social support we lack, economic or financial support we lack many support. For instance, cultural support. There are certain things as a girl child activist when you go out there. For instance, if now you are advocating against the female genital mutilation, you are not going to have support culturally. You are not going to have support culturally because the people are not going to support you because they think you are against the culture, even though that culture is harmful to that girl child. So that is another challenge that I personally have faced, and I believe other girls out there are also facing. Another one is we lack documents and literature to review while working on certain issues as advocates. I think that is really important, and I thank God for the report. I believe it will be distributed to different people around the world because we need documents. We need some of these things when we are working on certain cases. You need to know that, okay, in this country, this is how they work, and this work in this nation, this is what they did, and this was stopped. This is how they goes, and this problem was reduced. Some of these things, we need them. We need shared documents. We need literatures to review while working on activities or while working to solve certain problems as activists in our different nations. Another one again that is seen, another challenge that is not seen as a challenge is the intimidation. Most times people don't think this is a challenge, but this is one of the most important challenge that us activists are facing. Intimidation that are caused by male, either be it male activists or even some female activists. Seriously, I am saying this. We've had people who are supposed to be mentors, they tell you, you are too radical about this, you are too much, you talk too much, you like, what are you doing? You are on social media, you are doing this, you are doing that. That is an intimidation. Because if I think I have to go to the street to peacefully protest for a certain cause and you are saying I'm being radical, you are intimidating me. Another thing is intimidation from male activists or even men in general. Seriously, in most government offices, when you go there, it's hard to see female. For instance, in our country, in our parliament, we lack complete or full female representation. So most government offices, when you go there, you meet men, and seriously, sometimes it's actually dangerous. Sometimes some may ask you for sex or other things, and you get threatened if you think you are going to get this information outside. That is a challenge, and one of the biggest challenge that we are facing. Because if I have a project that I want to work on so that I can help girls in my community, and I go to you as a leader in my community, and you are a man, and the first thing you are asking for is sex, that is a problem. You are intimidating me, and that will actually literally just make me to just lay aside whatever I want to do for the girls in that community. So this is another problem that we are facing. And there are many challenges, like sometimes, seriously, we are humans too. Even though we are champions, we go out there fearlessly, we are strong to stand there against most of these things, but then sometimes we are afraid of our life. Sometimes your parents will tell you, you have to be careful. You know this country, you know how things are going, you have to be careful. It's not everything you have to say, but then if I don't say it, what will happen? Many girls are suffering from rape, gender-based violence. Many girls are suffering from teenage pregnancy, early marriage, FGM, and others. And I can't talk because why? I'm afraid I might be killed or something else. My family might be in problem, or I might be in prison. Currently, seriously, in our country, we have an issue of that. Somebody who talks, I don't want to say against the government, but talks about things that are happening, pressing issues that are happening in the country, and they are in prison. So some of the people see them, they are afraid for your life. So thank you very much, Surya. I just want to say this last. Another thing is the freedom of speech, and also the cultural and religious criticism. Just like I said before, most times we are criticized. You know, we, especially in Africa, we have many cultures which we have to adhere to. And seriously, culture is very important. Culture is very important. But then when it is harmful to that girl, I think it has to be eliminated. But then this is a problem, this is a challenge, and also fake freedom of speech, as we are not allowed to say the things that are in our mind, to say the things about issues that are affecting our girls. Thank you very much, Sonia. These are some of the challenges, and I believe that these challenges will tackle as time goes on in our journey as girl child champions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Esther. Thank you for sharing. That is indeed inspiring. And when it comes to girls and young women's participation with the adults, I would say I have like a personal experience. One time I was invited to a panel discussion. By then I was only 18 years old. And so these adults felt intimidated, or they felt that I would maybe say steal the spotlight. So when my time reached to speak, they were like, as a young person, you only have like a minute just to wrap up a few things, because most of the things have been said. I'm not lying. This is serious, and this was at a global level. People sometimes we face these challenges at local level, and we're like, okay, these people are not well educated or well informed. But when it reaches at a global level, it is very hurting, and it is very it brings us down as young women to see that people who are well educated, well informed, still have these negative beliefs that that these negative beliefs that they force us on. And ageism is also very difficult, or is also real. If I'm to say, ageism is real, and it is happening in our context. It is happening all over the world. And just to wrap up Esther's presentation, I say that indeed girls and young women around the world face the same challenges, even if the context is different, even if our upbringings are different, but you find that these challenges are the same around the world. They just change a little bit when it comes to theory, but the challenges are the same. That being said, please allow me to welcome our third panelist or our speaker for today. Jude, please take the mic and tell us, how have you overcome the challenges you have faced as an advocate? The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, fellow humans. I'd like to welcome you all to my perception of life, or let's just say my own meaning of it. My friends have carried it out so beautifully, so thank you very much for that, ladies. My name is Jude, and yes, I know the spelling is weird, but trust me, it's just like the Hey Jude song from the Beatles. I'm a university student, and my major is just all over the place as my thoughts. It's German and English for business and communication. I love meeting new people and I thoroughly enjoy getting to know them, but more specifically understand them, because I feel like that's the least that I can do to the people that I get to meet along the way. My journey with advocacy has been quite eclectic, to say the least, and extremely fun and challenging, to say the most. It all started from me questioning my own existence and channeling meaning into every step I take and every single thing I see. My senses are very sensitive to everything around me, and I am one of the most curious human beings you'll ever meet. This bundle of craziness that I could be made of keeps leading me towards the thought of wanting to help, or at least drive about change, first onto myself, and then maybe to the world. Speaking of geography and how it intertwines and correlates with injustice and pain, I live in the Middle East, and I was born into it. So according to my passport, I am from it, and more specifically from Jordan. Now that little geographic tracing means that I had a lot to see and witness. And I am sad to say that yes, women are treated as if they're aliens that the world is trying to deal with and tolerate every single day. I come from a well-educated, supportive family, and as much as that gives me privilege, it also gives me so much pain. It gives me a constant calling to always try to give and to always know that somewhere out there, probably super close to me, a girl could have the same opportunities I have with sufficient skills and creativity to create impact. But she sadly could be super oppressed, that she cannot think for herself, to let alone speak, and most importantly, speak up. That thought, that single strand of reality that does no justice to all the cases and all the stories that we know and don't know, is my calling and my drive to keep doing what I do. That is why I feel like it is a responsibility of mine to try to empower anyone around me, specifically the ladies. And I try to do that with a simple word of encouragement, or even more. And today I'm happy to say that that has created a great energy of girl love around me. I always try to stick to the slogan or saying that says, girls support girls. And from there comes so power and positive uplifting energy. I'm here to support and understand every woman or young girl I meet, regardless of her story and her path in life. Perhaps the challenges I'll always face will be most definitely within, and how that's within and how what's within me coexists and tries to blend in with what's existing externally. However, I know that any restraint that comes from within is not completely original and is definitely influenced by all clear and subliminal messages that we receive every single second of every single day. I have found it quite pleasing, actually, to know that many of the answers that I used to look for around me or far from me are actually just inside, and I only need to let it out and listen. I literally started to just sit alone and ask myself, how is it all going? And from there, I answer so honestly and listen to the inner voice, to the subconscious, and to every past experience that made me ever think that I'm incapable of doing what I wanted to do. I learned that acknowledging the good and the bad, the positive and the negative, is actually very healthy and healing. I also started learning more and more about self-love and what does it really mean, and how do I do it? How do I simply love myself and know that I'm actually loving myself? Well, it might seem like I might got all of it figured out, but the answer is no. I'm still 20 years old and I have so much more to experience. In fact, I am facing a lot of things in this very moment, but I'm taking my time to slow down and just be more mindful of every action I take, because it all matters. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I keep getting, from the Model United Nations conferences that I started to attend when I was 11, to me being here today to share my story. I have done so much over the past 2 years that it feels very insane to me. I got to be part of a Young Leaders program with Ebet. I became a host with Shams Community, which is a community that creates a safe space for people to share their thoughts on many topics. I have received training on many cool subjects. And to wrap it up, I have gotten the chance to have a lightning dialogue on the violence against girls on the internet with Ms. Reem Salim, the special rapporteur on violence against women. And from there, I joined the lovely She Leads advocacy group to finally be here with you today. Lastly, I just want to say that it's okay if you haven't really found an answer to many of the questions, or maybe to all of them. It's okay, and it'll pass. But in the midst of it all, we should always know that we have the right to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood, even by those who will never ever be in our shoes. I'd like to lastly end my speech with a special thank you to all the women and young girls out there. I know that we've got this, and I love you all so, so much. Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jude. That was amazing. I would like to remind all of you that please use the question and answer function. Just in case you have any questions to the panelists, they will be able to respond to them later. Back to you, Jude. That was amazing. And thank you so much for bringing those topics out. Self-care, doubting yourself. We as advocates, we face those challenges over and over again. We have this inner thing that tells us you are not enough, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And our society makes it worse by making it physically visible for us to know or to get to understand more that we cannot do the work that we are doing, that we cannot do the things that an advocate should do. Our voices are often being intimidated. That was so powerful, Jude. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And thank you. Thank you so much for that. So then we will go to our last panelist for today among the young women. And we have our lovely Nancy. Nancy, please tell us, what do you need from decision makers in order to make your voice heard and to continue the work that you're doing? Take the floor, Nancy.
Okay, hello everybody. I hope all of you can hear me. My name is Nancy Auma Barasa, a young grassroots feminist, an SRHR advocate, and a CSC facilitator from Kibra, Nairobi, Kenya. And I believe that decision makers should be intentional and deliberate about meaningfully involving young women and girls in decision-making spaces and processes. They should get down to know us and empower us, and to just know the issues that matter to us and be able to tackle those issues. I believe that it starts from there. That's where it starts from. And the challenges we've been having have been because the decision makers are not like fully or being intentional about meaningfully involving young women and girls. So I also believe in value-based approach to equip girls and young women with the skills to translate the complex terms, the complex advocacy terms, the complex policies, just translate it, break it down for young women and girls to understand so that we can be able to meaningfully participate. So just being able to understand that girls and young women need this information broken down, because you cannot just want us to come and engage when we do not actually understand what it is we're engaging about. Also encouraging girls to work in small groups. For instance, the girls from diverse background in here that have taken time to work on the talking points for these side events, the girls from diverse background bring in a lot of expertise. Just getting to learn from these groups by bringing them together gives us as young women a sense of belonging, and also a space where young women and girls are able to listen and also discuss what's important to us, and also just be able to meaningfully participate. Also, there's also a lot from what we've heard from the other participants. Actually, I'm short of words because a lot has been said by them. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of advocacy work that girls and young women are doing around the world. They have gained the expertise, they have the knowledge, they are masters in their own challenges, they are experts in their own issues, and just being able to believe girls and young women to be able to speak for themselves and to be able to tell you the issues directly from their mouths would make this us to feel like we're meaningfully involved. Also around September 2015, in September 2015, nations took a bold step to adopt the SDGs, where the nations are very intentional about making sure that they make sure that our environments are sustainable and that all of us are able to just be able to thrive in a fruitful community by 2030, which is very commendable. That is very commendable and ambitious. But if we are to achieve these ambitions, we must recognize the potential and the power of adolescent girls and young women. We cannot reason for any SDGs while we continue to reinforce the exclusion of young women and girls in the spaces where they're supposed to meaningfully participate. For us to be able to achieve anything, it's not just the SDGs. We need to make sure that young women and girls are aware of what these SDGs are, and they are able to break down this information to other young women, and also they are able to fully put value into the SDGs. So for nations to be able to achieve this, the transformative potential of young women and girls is essential for the attainment of the SDGs by 2030. Also, I think all of us have seen how marginalized young women and girls continue to create and define alternative voices of belonging and the means through which to express themselves. We continually find ways in which we can be able to influence policies, in which we can be able to continue the advocacy works in our communities. And for real, this is just beyond words, because that has taken the transformative potential of young women and girls. And it just takes the decision makers and the policy influencers to tap into the already existing potential of young women and girls for our communities to thrive. So just being able to include young women, just making sure that whatever it is, because all of us, we are from diverse backgrounds and we are experts. We are experts in our different areas. We are experts in our different levels of influence. So just getting to understand what it is we can be able to bring to the table really goes a long way. And I'd say organizing this HRC50 side event has given us the opportunity to learn in a way that works for all of us, especially as young women and girls in all our diversities. We have the ability to voice our issues with knowledge because we've been made to understand what it is we are talking about. And if the decision makers and policy makers can be able to tap into what we've already built for ourselves and just being able to give us knowledge, because I believe by helping us understand what it is we are being told or what it is that we are required to bring to the table will help us to fully serve our communities and fully be of influence to the spaces in which we are exposed to. So the ability to just air our voices, to amplify our voices into these spaces, that's all we ask for. We ask that we are able to meaningfully participate. We are able to know how to juggle between these spaces and just be able to make sure that our voices, our challenges, our stories are told by us and us alone. And I'd like to just do a parting shot and just say that it is very important that we invest in young women's capacities and agencies, because our resilience manifests. We've not just seen it here, we've seen it in our communities, we've seen what young women and girls continue to do in our communities. So investing in our capacities and agencies and also our resilience because also it manifests in our strides, and the things we've been able to do in our community will help our communities thrive, and we'll be able to build enduring communities and resilient and sustainable communities. So just being able to know what it is that we as young women need, and you cannot know unless you involve us. That is just it. There's no way you will know unless you ask us to tell you, or unless you ask for us to share from our experiences. There's no way around this. So just understanding that we are very important. We are key stakeholders in making sure that our challenges are addressed. There's no way you can do that without us. There's nothing for us without us. Thank you so much.
Very well said, Nancy. Thank you so much. I would like to remind all of you that please use the question and answer function to ask as many questions as you have, because our panelists are very eager and excited to answer to all your questions. Please feel free to do that. Nancy, you have mentioned a very, very important topic. And when it comes to us girls and young women, it is amazing how policy makers, decision makers put us aside. They decide for us. They decide for what we need. They decide for they decide our everything, the kind of education that we need. So it is very important for decision makers to know that we girls have a voice, and we girls have our own needs, and we can air them out. Yes, that being said, please allow me to welcome our guest speaker for today. Please welcome Mrs. Dorothy Estrada Tank, who will be taking us through, or who will be sharing her reflections on what she has had the panelists say, the young women. And she will also be taking us through some of the key learnings from the recent reports of the Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls and Young Women Activism. Mrs. Dorothy, you are most welcome to take the floor.
Thank you so much, Sorea, and thank you really to the speakers, to Aflin, Esther, Jude, and Nancy, and to the organizers, particularly Plan International and the She Leads Project, who I've been a bit more closely in contact with, but really to everyone, and also to the governments that are supporting this. As all of you mentioned, if there are not these spaces created, and as Nancy just mentioned in the final part, we or anyone else, UN human rights bodies, governments, social actors, cannot know really the challenges that you are facing, the different realities that you encounter, and the way in which you carry out your work as girls and young women activists, and the priorities you have, and how you would want to see those challenges converted into aspects that can really catalyze, that can really increase the transformative potential that each one of you four has been talking about. So on behalf of the United Nations Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls, I wanted to thank you all for organizing this side event to the 50th session of the Human Rights Council, and also for sharing with us, for the four speakers sharing with us these challenges, their experiences, and their views as to what should change and what decision makers and lawmakers as well should be focusing on. So as Sorea mentioned, and as you know, the 2022 report, the report of this year of the working group, focuses on the central theme of this event, the activism of girls and young women, and how we can highlight, this is what we wanted to do as a working group, to highlight the immense contributions that girls and young women activists are making around the world. Girls and young women are working on many issues, as you have mentioned, on climate justice, racial justice, of course, gender inequality, also poverty and socioeconomic inequality. Nancy also mentioned the SDGs, specifically premature maternity, early marriage, FGM, and how to really make girls' voices heard, but not only to make them heard, but actually in a previous step to access the information and the life choices that can make your voice, that for girls and young women to want to make their voice heard, to know and to feel that you have something to say and that you can actually shape your own future. And I think that goes to what Aflin was mentioning at the beginning, in the sense of how many times, and she mentioned particularly rural settings or informal settlements, rural communities, where girls and young women do not have access to information, therefore they do not really know what range of options are available to them. So there is really no informed or fully informed decision making. So we want voices to be heard, but we want to also contribute to giving girls and young women the tools to be able to access the information necessary to form their voice, to shape what they want to say, and then to be heard, and of course to meaningfully participate, as you have mentioned. So this is something that we also wanted to reflect in the report, apart from highlighting the contributions, also mentioning and emphasizing the great challenges that you have faced and that you have mentioned, and what are the structural obstacles that girl and young women activists face in their everyday activity. And in that sense, how should states and other actors, for example, national human rights institutions, and even families, schools, communities, should act to try to eliminate those structural obstacles that make girl and young women's activists work or everyday activity difficult, or at some points impossible. Some of you have mentioned intimidation, threats, fear, and these are points that we also touch upon in the report. So we wanted to highlight agency, transformative potential, all the work that girl and young women activists are already doing, but then also how do we counter those obstacles to make this work more meaningful, to make it heard, and for, as Esther was mentioning, how do we build structures, laws, policies, protocols that serve as a guide to facilitate and to enable, in a safe and enabling environment, the work of girls and young women activists. So the report, after highlighting these contributions, mentioning these structural obstacles, and identifying and making a diagnosis of where these obstacles lies in a greater or lesser degree in different parts of the world, with all the geographic differences. As Jude mentioned, geography is also determinant for the pain, the challenges, the struggles that girls and young women face. But we do find some common denominators that we try to identify. And then we pass on to a third part of the report where we make specific recommendations to states, mainly because, as you may know, we as a working group present this annual report to the Human Rights Council that, as all of you know, is composed by 47 member states, that then depends upon the General Assembly, in which all 193 member states are represented, with 2 observer members, the Holy See and Palestine, as you know. So we really want to speak to the global community on what are states' obligations to facilitate girl and young women's activism, to facilitate and to protect and to promote and to enable this activism, and for girls and young women to be able to exercise their rights to participate in public and political life, their rights to freedom of expression and opinion, their right to freedom of thought, their right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. and of course all the other connected and interrelated rights that girls and young women are fighting for. So we direct these recommendations to states, but we also engage with other actors. And from what I have heard from all four of you, from Aflin, Esther, Jude, and Nancy, we know that there may be distrust in institutions. We know that there may be distrust also in the UN itself. And we also direct some of our recommendations to UN bodies, UN agencies, and to other actors at the international, regional, national, and local setting in power that can really drive for change, and the changes that you are actually asking for, many of which have been put on the table today. So in our own work as working group and as a UN human rights special procedure, we want to and we commit to integrating girls and young women's voices and meaningful participation in the rest of our work from now on. We don't want this to have been only an experience to have developed and drafted this report that we are presenting in this session of the Human Rights Council, but we really want to incorporate this learning experience into the future of the working group. I also mentioned to all of you, and this may be interesting for your work and the organizations that you collaborate with, that our report for 2023 is going to be dedicated to human security of women and girls in the context of poverty and economic inequality. So I think this relates to many of the rights you have been addressing. Nancy also highlighted the work on SDGs. So of course we're concerned not only with SDG 5 on gender equality, but also SDG number 10 on reducing inequalities, gender, but all the other inequalities that affect girls and young women as well. Socioeconomic inequality, inequality based on religion, on ethnicity, on racial background, on sexual orientation, on gender identity. So we want to study how these combined inequalities, and particularly poverty and socioeconomic inequality, impact disproportionately women and girls. So we would be very happy, and I announce it since now, to work together with you. And we would love to hear your experiences in this sense, what work you are doing in this, what challenges you see, particularly for girls and young women, and also for young activists working in these fields. And we commit, as I said, to integrating this experience and this methodology of drafting a report into our future activities. So the regional consultations that we held with people from all the world and with some of your organizations, we want to do that as well for the coming up reports for 2023 and the reports to come. So this is something in which we think that we, with our own work and being in a way also self-critical of what we can improve, we think that with this we can also contribute to trying to a certain extent, set an example of what we are asking others to do, how we can make girls and young women's voices be heard, how we can ensure meaningful participation, how we can try to open spaces for those challenges to be incorporated into the UN's everyday work and into human rights law and policies as well. So just to give you a final overview, as you know, our working group is integrated by 5 members from different parts of the world, precisely also trying to reflect diversity in the understanding of women's and girls' rights, also different cultural understandings. Some of you mentioned the different barriers of religion or culture in part of your work. So we want different legal traditions represented in the working group, and this we have also tried to reflect in the report. Intersectional discrimination, diversity, and the different views and factors that can both positively impact your work or that can also represent barriers to your work as activists. So in this sense, we are really very happy and very inspired to have listened to the views of the four of you, and we want to keep on also representing and trying to reflect as faithfully as possible this diversity and these different sets of needs. As Esther mentioned, maybe something is in one way in a certain local or national setting, but it's helpful, and we want to provide tools of what is happening in other parts of the world. What are the best practices that have been working in incorporating young girls and women's voices? How are these incorporated into policy and lawmaking? And we have different examples throughout the report that we hope may be helpful. And the final point that we have tried to do in this report is to create, I'll put it in the chat, a microsite. The working group already has a microsite that tries to make our messages more easily accessible, and that uses different social media tools and so on, or different graphic tools rather. And we are working right now on a youth-friendly version of the 2022 report that we'll make available to all of you. So far, the microsite is in English and in Spanish. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. And as I say, we are working for a child and youth-friendly version of the 2022 report that will be available hopefully in July. And this is hopefully something that can help you in your organizations to disseminate the content of this report and to really interact with your community, with your governments, to try to bring these global realities and the best practices that are working also to your own national setting, because it is really with you that these things can become possible, right? We issue the report, but then it goes out, and it is really through your work, Sorea, Aflin, Esther, Jude, Nancy, and all of the girls supporting girls, as Jude said, that this can really get into your communities and spread, and that you can really also claim that the rights of girls and young women be respected in your own local setting. So thank you so much, Sorea, and of course I'm available for the question and answer session, and I look forward to also closing the event whenever you tell me to do so. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dorothy. Those were very insightful, and thank you so much for the reflections on the presentation of the girls and young women. That was powerful. And as you have mentioned, as you have well said, it is upon us as young women and girls to put into action the work or the report of the UN Women Working Group. So we appreciate the efforts, and we look forward to the report and probably sharing it among our organizations, and doing whatever we can to put into practice the findings of the report or the recommendations. So because of time, I will dive into the question and answer session, and I would like to give the floor to Mexico. I see in the question and answer function, you would like to take the floor, and just as to mention, Mexico is also one of our co-sponsors for this event. And I would like to give you the microphone to ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay, yes. So first of all, it is very common to say, at least in my generation and among the elders, that you are the future. But actually, that is not so correct. You are the present. And for this reason, Mexico is very grateful with all of you, and also to Plan International and the organizing NGOs for co-sponsoring this very relevant and timely event. And what is very important, to make a safe space, as you mentioned in the beginning. So, well, having said that, I'm going to be very brief because I have just one question and I want to continue hearing from you. But so very briefly, Mexico has right now a resolution that is working jointly with Chile and Argentina. And this resolution is about discrimination of women and girls. And the topic for this year, for this 50th session of the Human Rights Council, is precisely participation of young women and participation of girls. So we are very, very appreciative and very grateful to Solea, to Aflin, to Esther, to Jude, and to Nancy for all their inputs, all the recommendations, all the challenges. We have taken note, all of them, and to reflect them in this work we are right now doing. And our question is this. How do you think the family sphere impacts the possibility for you and for girls and young women's participation in public life? And this is a very important question for us because, as you may imagine, we are dealing with many people who believe that women, young women and girls are only allowed to participate under the, let's say it, protection, guidance, control of an adult. So we would be very interested to know your inputs and learn from you in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I would give the floor to our lovely panelists and also to mention a few of the young women who are with us today, who have also been participating in the preparation of this event, are also on the call. And some of them will be coming in to answer a few questions. And while answering those questions, they will be able to briefly introduce themselves. So among the panelists today, the young women who would like to take up the question. Anyone willing to take up the question from Mexico?
Hi.
Anyone willing? Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. So I'd kindly ask her to repeat because there's a point I lost her. How do you think the family of, I didn't get like the final bit. If you could kindly repeat, I would appreciate.
Yes, with pleasure. It's how do you think that the family sphere impacts the possibility for girls and young women participating in public life?
Thank you so much, Mendoza.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I can go. I think there's just a lot of influence the family has on us as young women and girls. There's just a way we've been socialized. Like for instance, in Africa, their traditions, their cultural beliefs, and there are things we're not even supposed to do. There are things, there are even parts of a chicken we're not supposed to eat because we are girls. You know, there's just so many things that we cannot do because we are girls. So I'd say that has shaped how we've been able to grow up and getting to just realize that this thing was not even necessary at all. Why did I have to go through this? Why did my parents have to put me through this? Has given us a force to want to be able to reach out to other girls and young women from our communities who are being socialized to think in a certain way or to believe they are created, or maybe they have been brought into existence to act and be in a certain way. So in as much as it has been in as much as it has taken us away from just being, just being humans, just living the way any other human would be. There's just a way we're supposed to walk. There's a way we're supposed to greet people. And when we get into spaces where we're seated with men or maybe boys, we feel like we start to shiver, we start to tremble because we don't know how we're supposed to act before them. And you find that when you're in a group of people and there's a meeting, now you're the one that is taking the responsibility of serving tea, and you're just taking care of everyone, like that is your home. So being socialized to believe that a woman should do this, even when in these spaces, even when in advocacy spaces, it's not good, and it's not right for women, especially young women and girls, to be subjected to such. As a girl, we should be able to just grow up and be able to learn that there's nothing in this world we cannot do. We can be able to do anything and everything we decide to put our heads and hearts into. So our parents and our families have been able to shape us in a certain way, but when we grow up and get into these spaces and get to meet other young women from diverse backgrounds, we get to realize that, you know what, this was not even that serious. I should have just done this and this and this. And now that shapes how we do our advocacy work and also how we mentor other adolescent girls and young men from our communities. I hope I've attempted to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Hope she has been able to answer your question, or you would need more clarification from the panel or more answers from the panel. Was that okay?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Perfect. So because of time, right now we will have one more question, unfortunately. And the question from one of the questions I will randomly pick from the question and answer section is, how do we ensure that girls and young women, especially from poor families who do not have access to internet or television, can get information that powers and encourages them? Such a powerful question. I'll pass the microphone back to our lovely panelists for today. Anyone willing to take up that question, please feel free to take the floor.
Okay, thank you, Soler. So as a young advocate from the rural areas, yes, we don't have access to internet like most of the girls don't have. And I'd say most of us are poor per se. So what we do, like I'll just give a practical example of what we do. Most of the time, we know that most of these girls and young women, they go to school. And as I said earlier, I'm a teacher. So I'd always find these girls and young women in school. So disseminating these informations in schools has been very easy and very inconvenient. But because of, I'd say, limited resources, you can't reach every school. So at one point or the other, some girls are still missing out. Yeah. And then again, during like we always have holidays in Kenya, like when the school closes. For the girls who are in tertiary levels and they don't have access to internet, we always organize for them girls sessions where we call them in a group sessions for us to do some mentorships and so forth. And this is how we disseminate information to them. And then again, we just provide IEC materials to those who can't read and so forth. And then again, another way is us organizing for some physical activities like game balls and hiking and so forth, team building activities per se. So that is how we get to reach some of these girls, but not all of them. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Alflin, for taking up that question. And we will dive right into our concluding remarks from the panelists. First, we will have Mrs. Dorothy to give us her concluding remarks. Mrs. Dorothy.
Thank you, Solea. I want to end with a very deep note of gratitude from the working group your voices, your views, your challenges, your aspirations are an inspiration to us. We have learned, and I personally have learned a lot by listening to you today. And I think one of the conclusions we take away from this is that we can confirm that these type of spaces, as our colleague from the Mexican mission was mentioning, are extremely relevant, that they are useful, that they are necessary, and that they are an expression of your rights. And this is something that we want to commit to keep on doing. We want to maintain, if that is fine with you, a close and constant relationship with you and with the networks of girls and young women and organizations that you work with. As it has been mentioned here, self-care and sorority is important. It is actually an indispensable element for our work. So I would conclude by saying that we remain at your disposal for whichever way in which the report itself or our activity, through events, through dissemination strategies, through public speeches and consultations, can be useful for you. We are here to do that. And secondly, that we look forward to increasing this close contact, not only on the issues of this report specifically, but as I mentioned before, for the 2023 report and for all the work of the working group. And hopefully we can also impact other UN special procedures to incorporate as a working methodology girls and young women's voices into their everyday activity. So thank you so much again, and I look forward to staying in contact.
Thank you so much, Miss Dorothy, and we would love to stay in contact as well. And we are looking forward to that. I would like right now to welcome the young women, the panelists, our lovely panelists, who would be closing this event with a question as why is it important for your voices to be heard? Yes. It is a very important question, and I will give the floor to Nancy. Please tell us, as you give your concluding remarks, why is it important for your voice to be heard?
Yeah, so I believe my voice, it is important, not just for my voice only, but for the voices of all the girls and young women all around the world to be heard. Because one, we are able, we are smart, we are intelligent, we are experts, we have walked this journey of life ourselves. We know our challenges, we know our experiences, and there's no one that can tell our stories better than we can. Also, we have power, we have strength, we have resilience. Our resilience just manifests beyond even what we can be able to comprehend. Sometimes we even shock ourselves. We're just brilliant. We are superb, and we're given an opportunity. We are able to take up spaces and just go by it, run with it. And honestly, just as this event is a success, see what young women can be able to do. We've been able to run this, and we have done it so well. And this is just a part of what we can be able to do. We are doing so much in our communities. Get to know us, get to learn from us, get to hear us, tell you what it is that is affecting us. Don't make decisions without us. Don't make decisions or influence anything that is for us without having us in there. So I'd like to say that I'm really grateful for everybody that has taken time to just be here, everybody that has taken time from their busy schedules, from different walks of life. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor for us. And today, this is a milestone for not just us, but every young woman and adolescent girl across the world, because today we've been heard. Today, we felt like our voices really matter. And we hope that this will just go a long way into getting even beyond this level, and just us as young women and girls being able to influence and shape policies at the highest levels of the land. Thank you so much for being here. We love you so much, even though we're not able to see all of you, but you're in here, you're in our hearts, and we adore you. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for those wonderful closing remarks. And Jude, would you like to take the floor?
Okay, thank you so much, Nancy. I feel like when one is asked this question, we always think of a very sophisticated, eloquent answer of why do we deserve this and that. But I feel like part of us, being human beings, we know that we are human beings and we do exist in this world, on this earth together. We all deserve to be heard, and there shouldn't be any explanation for that. There shouldn't be any long answer for that, because we're here and we're all living in the same place together. And that alone give us the right to be heard and to be seen and to be understood. And it should never, ever be treated as something that's a privilege or something that's an extra that is given to us. I believe that we're all capable and we're all enough. We're all very smart and intelligent and very beautiful, as Nancy said. And today was a very, very beautiful milestone, I reckon, for all of us. And I'm very, very happy to have taken part and to have met all of you beautiful women all over the world. I wish you a very, very beautiful rest of the day, evening, morning, regardless of the time zones, and a very beautiful just life in general. Thank you very much. This is Jude.
So much, Jude. Esther, would you like to give your concluding remarks and answer the question as well?
Thank you very much all for joining us this afternoon. It's afternoon right now. I don't know if it's morning or evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us. And I believe whatever we've heard here, whatever we've learned here, we are not just going back, but we are going to try to actually do something towards some of these things. And I believe that as we are going as girls, most of these our decisions, they are going to influence policy. So each and every one of you here, please don't stop what you're doing. Continue to do what you're doing, irrespective of the challenges. Just continue to do what you love doing, because there are many girls out there who are yet to hear this. There are many girls out there who are yet to experience the experience that you've had and to know the things that you've learned. So let's just continue to do what we are doing and continue to help other girls come up to this level that we are at now. Thank you very much. I am Esther.
Thank you so much, Esther. And now we will have Alflin give also her concluding remarks.
Okay, thank you, Soler. Thank you, Esther. So I believe of whatever I want and whatever needs to be done. So in a way, you have to listen to my view so that you can influence in a way. As I always say, girls can speak for themselves. They know what they want. Yeah. And I believe today I'm very privileged as a young girl from the rural settlement. And I think I'm the first one to speak in such a forum. So it is a privilege. Thank you so much to the organizers. And also thank you so much to everyone who joined us today to listen to us, to listen to our authentic stories. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Alflin, for that. And I will officially close this event and say that thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate your efforts from beginning of this event to the end of this event. And I just want to say, for some of you, this may be the last time that we are on a Zoom webinar like this, but before we part ways, I need to remind you that we all have superpowers. Our superpower as a girl or young women are our voices, a voice to advocate and challenge patriarchal gender norms, stereotypes when it comes to decision-making and leadership. In closing, we have one request. Please, please do not give up on us. Keep showing up on events like this. Keep supporting and sponsoring girls and young women events, and as well as projects. Keep supporting us. I want to say a massive thank you to Plan International, Defense for Children International, Terre, Homes Netherlands, FEMNET, and most of all, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Netherlands, as well as all the co-sponsors of this event. And I thank you all, our participants today. Thank you for taking time. I cannot thank you enough. This means a lot to us. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. We appreciate you and your time for being here. Yeah, thank you so much. All of you have a lovely evening, have a lovely afternoon, and have a lovely morning maybe. So bye everyone.